Hello, I'm João Ramos, and on behalf of the Porto and North of Portugal Tourism Board, I would like to welcome you to the Leixões Cruise Terminal. The conversation today is going to be very interesting, and I want to start with an open question that we will explore in a few minutes with our guests today. In many countries, football has ingrained itself into the national culture as part of people's lives revolve around it. How important is football in Porto and the north of Portugal? I would say that for many people, it is a preeminent part of their everyday life and therefore part of the region's culture. The most important football club in the region is Futebol Clube do Porto, founded in 1893. It got the best classification among Portuguese clubs in the ranking of the best clubs in the world in 2020 by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics. A defining element of the football club is also the stadium, the Dragão Stadium. Inaugurated in 2003, it has become a reference in terms of sports and culture in the city and in the region. Today with us we have Mafalda Magalhães, Operation Manager at the Futebol Clube do Porto Museum, a space located inside the stadium and dedicated not only to the history of the club, but also to provide tourists and visitors with unforgettable experiences. Mafalda, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you, João.
Mafalda, you are the director of Futebol Clube do Porto Museum, and you were involved in it since the beginning. Tell us about your personal relationship with the club, with the stadium and with the museum project.
I remember when I was 4 years old, my godfather, it was a great supporter of FC Porto, was always at my house and asking me to repeat with him, Porto, Porto, and as I was a little girl, I remember to be Porto supporter because of him. From then, I was very linked to the history and the activities of the club. When I started to work in FC Porto in 2008, it was a big joy for me because football is emotion, and working in Dragão Stadium is a double emotion. Throughout my professional life, I was very connected with cultural events, production of cultural contents, and I worked with a lot of institutions in the country and in the city of Porto. So working at the museum, when I was invited to work in the FC Porto Museum, I think it was a natural consequence.
Very well. There is something very curious about Porto and its stadium, its name. It is called the Dragão Stadium, in Portuguese, Estádio do Dragão. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it means for the club, but also for the city and for the FC Porto supporters?
The mythological figure of the dragon is part of the history of Porto. And was part of the city's coat of arms. And in 1922, a player of FC Porto, Simplício, proposed, he was a graphic designer, and he proposed to join the badge of FC Porto with the city coat of arms. So from that date till now, FC Porto adopted the dragon as the major figure. 60 years later, when Jorge Nuno Pinto Costa became president of FC Porto in 1982, the image of the dragon grew in importance at the club as a way of uniting everyone within FC Porto. alongside giving even more visibility to the inseparable relationship between FC Porto and the city of Porto. And since the image of the dragon is worldwide associated with the clubs, and through it with the city, in 2003 and on, by a proposal of our actual president, Jorge Nuno Pinto Costa, the name Dragão was chosen for the new FC Porto Stadium.
Mafalda, the Football Club do Porto Museum is one of the 50 museums portrayed in the book Revisiting Museums of Influence, 4 Decades of Innovation and Public Quality in European Museums, and it is an influence for other museums in the world. The publication highlights 50 museums in Europe that have distinguished themselves for their innovation and quality. It is extremely interesting how FC Porto Museum uses technology, art and innovation to portray not only the football club but also the city. Tell us a little bit about the idea behind the museum, what experiences it can offer to supporters and visitors in general, and why it has become such an important reference in the region.
Our presence in that book is a reason of pride for us, because we were part of an exclusive list of museums that were nominated for EMEA, the European Museum of the Year Award in 2016. And that nomination means a lot for us and represents the importance of this project. The FC Porto, that grew from 1893 till now, has a huge amount of contents to tell to our public. So we thought, how can we put this in a way of showing not only the history of the club, but also the close link between the club and the history of the city. How can we present all of this in a unique space? The link between the city, the region, and the history of our people here in north of Portugal can be told through the story of our club. FC Porto is the main agent of sports, economy, social causes and cultural promotion in the city and in the region. The appearance of this museum filled a gap in the city's cultural and touristic offer, and since 2013 the Tour FC Porto has already reached 1 million visits. Is one of the main attractions in the city of Porto and in the north region of Portugal, standing out on the platform TripAdvisor. Our museum is inclusive and offers visits in several languages in modern support through the app of Museum and Tour. We are the first museum that is a member affiliate of the World Tourism Organization. After 7 years, we have counted more than 1 million visits. 30% of that were from countries all over the world. So 30% of them are mainly international. And people for more than 75% of countries visit our museum. So it is very revealing of the importance of the FC Porto, the museum and the city.
At the museum entrance we see a huge blue star. Can you tell us a little bit about the story of that star?
Yes, of course, it's a pleasure because it's one of my passions, astronomy. And this star represents, it's the logo of the museum and represents Alpha Draconis, that is one of the main stars of the Draco constellation. During the construction of the Egyptian pyramids, it was considered the polar star. I think in the next millions of years it will be again the polar star. This is very interesting because Draco constellation represents one of the most important constellations in the sky. So it's a perfect metaphor to the club's notable collection of trophies and all the history that you can find at our museum. Obviously, this star is blue because our colors are blue and our heart is blue. And the star of the museum greets you at the entrance and guides you through our own astonishing collection of trophies, our Draco constellation.
Mafalda, changing the subject to how this pandemic has impacted the world of tourism and culture. How has the museum reacted to COVID emergency? What measures did you put in place to guarantee visitors' health and safety?
It was initially thought that we would reach 1 million visits in March of 2020. Due to the pandemic, we only reached that number in September of that year. That reflects the impact of this big problem in our day-by-day operation. This problem impacts in our financial results also, and we lost more than 1 million euros. And the growth curve of the museum, of the visits that start from 2013 and never stopped till the 6th year, was stopped with this pandemic. So I think we came from the high to 0 visits in 1 month. In our operation, we decided to apply and got the certifications made available by national and international entities, tourist entities, as a safety guarantee on our visits and tour. Clean and safe, that was given by the Turismo de Portugal, and safe travels, that was given by WTTC. Other improvements that we made in our museum was changing courses of our tours, and also the amount of people in each tour was changed.
Mafalda, let's talk about events now. With such an incredible architecture and so many multi-purpose spaces, what can the FC Porto Museum and Stadium offer to people interested in organizing corporate events, incentives and conferences and exhibitions?
The Dragão Stadium is an infrastructure with the capacity to host multiple events and with the different scales, from small events and big events that can bring thousands of people. In the museum also we have a lot of spaces that we can use to organize different scale of events. We have an auditorium, so we can have conferences, we can have theater and cultural performing arts in our space. We also have a temporary exhibition art room, and we use that room to develop the link between our public and the art public that is a little bit different than football. Also, we can host different events in our foyers or even in the pitch, if like the Coldplay concert that we had in the Dragão Stadium a few years ago, and the sky is the limit, of course.
The word hybrid events is now on everybody's top of mind, and we cannot deny that the majority of post-COVID events will be hybrid. With a football stadium such as yours, so well equipped for sport events with a broadcasting setup already in place, how could this facilitate hybrid events for corporate events coming to Porto?
Although I don't like that part of hybrid events, the virtual part of hybrid events, because I think human being was not made to interact virtually. We need to touch, we need to see each other, and besides that, I think we need to adapt ourselves to the new reality. And I have no doubt that our equipment, Dragão Stadium and FC Porto Museum, are very well prepared to host this kind of events.
Very well. The future in tourism and events, we are curious to know a little bit of what your idea of that topic is. The museum and the stadium, but also the museum invested a lot in innovation and digital experiences. And the shift towards this digital and hybrid events that we were talking about is undeniable due to COVID, although as you, I also prefer live events and physical presence. What do you think the future holds for the museum, for the visitors and for the events that it may host with this new digital era?
Before the pandemic, we were already digital. So our museum didn't suffer a big transformation. We are a big museum, so in 7,000 square meters, it is possible to have a lot of people, safety, and during this pandemic period, we were very busy to change some technology to get the experience much better for our visitor. Despite the apprehension of many, people will be also eager to find the perfect getaway after these months of confinement. And this must be seen as a great opportunity. It will be up to the tourism sector, where museums are also included, to create the perfect solutions that ensure that an enjoyable and safe experience. Furthermore, we're preparing the launch of a new brand concept at the stadium. Initially thought for last year, we're finally going to open themed escape rooms in partnership with an important player of this sector that will allow us to attract new kinds of audiences. This will be especially interesting for team building activities and corporate initiatives, as it will be an exciting experience that could be integrated on the agenda of all kinds of events held at the stadium, and great add-on to the tour of FC Porto. The challenge is tremendous and the future is uncertain, but we must be confident.
I'm also confident, Mafalda, so thank you very much for being here, and let's hope that in the next months Porto in the north and the FC Porto Stadium receives lots of tourists and events. Thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you very much.